Hey there, I'm Kim. Welcome to my craft room. Today I'm back with another vintage inspired felt and sequin project. This time it's a Santa switch plate cover, and my inspiration for this came from a Holt Howard design from the mid 20th century. I hope you like it, and if you would like to make one just like mine, I'm going to show you right now how to do that. Start out by downloading the pattern. There's a link in the description box below, and then you're going to need some sulky stick and stitch or something like this. You will print the second page of the pattern on the fabric side of this project. This is what we will use to cut out our shapes from the felt. I use standard hobby felt, but you could use a wool blend if you'd like. Aren't many colors involved: red, flesh color, black. This bright blue is what I used for the eyes, a little pink for the chink colors, and some white. You'll need some embroidery floss to match the felt colors, but you'll also need like a dark gray color and then a gold brown color for attaching the trim. You'll need about 1/3 yard of a narrow gold trim. Make sure the trim has a lot of bend to it so that it can go around the scallop shapes of the beard. You'll also want a jingle bell and then a pom-pom for the nose. You might try out a couple different sizes of pom-poms and see which one you like best. And you'll need sequins. You'll need red and white for this project. It is designed for a 5mm size sequin, and then just a standard seed beads. I really like the ones that have the metallic center. Find the best needles you can for this project. I use a short beading needle, and then I really like these clover embroidery needles. Okay, that's all there is. Let's get started. Start off by cutting out the shapes around the lines, not necessarily on the lines. I probably go like 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch around the lines. When you're done, simply remove that paper backing from your piece and then stick the pattern onto the felt. Just use a little gentle pressure to lay it down nicely. If you need to reposition it, you can peel it up and then reposition it. It's no problem. When it's all done, you're gonna cut out the shapes. This time you'll cut directly on the pattern line. When you have all your pieces cut, just take a little minute to lay it out. Note that the face is just going to lay on top of the beard. Another thing to note is that I don't cut out the pupils of the eyes. I'm going to wait till the very end so that I don't lose those two tiny pieces. Before I sew the pieces together, I'm going to add most of the sequins. The sequin placement is marked on each of the pieces with those little dots, so I'll know where they'll go without sewing it together. The only place I'm not going to put sequins is on either side of the face. I just found that it was easier to put those ones on at the end. To sew on a sequin is pretty easy. Just thread your sequin needle with one strand of floss, and then dump out a few of the sequins. I like to have a little pile of sequins on some felt or another material, and then I keep my seed beads in the container or in a little saucer or something. You'll want to needle up in the middle of one of the circles on the pattern, and then grab a sequin from the back side of the sequin, so it's kind of like from the bottom of the bowl of the sequin. Pull that through, and then use your needle to scoop up a little one of the seed beads, and then thread that through. Now you're going to needle down in the sequin. Don't needle down in the bead, just in the sequin. And there's the first one. So that sequin is like a little bowl sitting on the fabric. And then just keep going. When I get about 4 sequins done, I will turn my work over, and then I'll make a little knot. That's just a little insurance to make sure that you don't lose a long line of sequins if you have to leave your project, or if your thread gets tangled or something like that. So right here I've got all of the sequins except for those side ones done, and I'm ready to sew on the gold trim. I want to sew the gold trim on now so that I can hide the tip underneath that mustache piece. I'm going to use one strand of that golden brown colored thread and my embroidery needle, And really, I am just using a straight stitch to tack on the gold trim. The only real trick to this is that when you get to one of the corners of the scallop, you want to really tack down that corner well so that you can make a point and curve the trim the other direction. So that's all there is to that. I go from one side to the other. If your trim looks like it's really prone to fray at the edges, just stick some fray check on it before you trim it off, or after you trim it off. There you go. So now we're going to get this ready to sew all the pieces together. But before we do that, I have to cut out an opening for the light switch, since this is a switch plate cover. So I'm going to cut 1/8 of an inch inside the line on the beard where the little mouth goes, and then I'm going to cut on the lines of the opening for the switch on the mouth piece. In hindsight, this would have been much easier to do with a smaller pair of scissors. Now that that's done, we are going to put the face on to the beard. I've got 2 strands of floss in my needle, and I'm just basting this together. The tricky part about attaching the face to the beard is that the bottom of the face goes just right on top of the beard, so that I would minimize the number of layers at this junction in the design. But those 2 side pieces of the Santa's beard, those overlap the face. I used 2 strands of floss and a whip stitch to sew everything together. When I put the mouth on, I only sew around that bottom line of the smile. When I put the eyes on, I stitch around one side of the eyeball, then I put it onto the back of the face, then I stitch around the other side, then I take the white and I finish it off. Do that for both eyes. I'm going to save the pupil for much later though. I put the cheeks on next. Probably also sew up the sides of the face here. And as you see, the top of the hat sets on top of the face, just kind of like the beard. And there it is. So now I'm back with the piece actually all stitched together, and I'm ready to add those sequins to the side of the piece. As soon as I have this done, I can go ahead and remove that stick and stitch. To do that, simply soak your piece in a little bit of room temperature water. It's kind of fun to watch the stick and stitch melt away. When you just have a little bit of the stick and stitch left, I find it helpful to put my piece under some running water. When I can't see any more of the stick and stitch, I squeeze it out to remove the excess water, just don't twist it. I'll also set it on a towel to help me press some more water off, and that's usually where I leave it to dry. It takes a few hours. Here I'm back and the Santa is all dry. Now I'm going to add the pupils of the eyes and some of the other details. So finally, I am going to cut out the pupils of the eyes. I'm still going to use the stick and stitch, but instead of dissolving it, I'm going to go ahead and use a needle to help me remove the stick and stitch. You can also freehand cut this if you like. And then I'm just going to sew it on using 2 strands of floss and a basting stitch. After that's done, I'm going to go back and do the details around the eyes using 1 strand of that dark gray floss. To do this, I use a back stitch, and I am sewing on the flesh color of felt, but I am stitching a line as close to the white of the eye as I can. When I get to the place where I want to put the eyelashes, I kind of visualize with my needle and the thread where it's going to go, and then make 3 little straight stitches for the eyelashes. When those are done, I just continue back stitching around the rest of the eye. Do the other eye the same way. You can also add the nose if you'd like a pom-pom now, as well as the bell. For the nose, I just used some red floss to needle up through the felt nose, and then I needled back down through the pom-pom. Knot off and change your thread color and do the same thing with the bell. The bell will hide that tip of the Santa hat, and it just takes a couple of stitches, just like that. So now we need to put a backing on this Santa. I use the completed Santa to lay on top of a larger piece of white felt to cut the backing piece. Once it's cut, I use 2 strands of white floss to whip stitch the backing to the front of the Santa. The only tricky bit is when I get to the red piece of felt, I move to a different type of stitch where I'm going all the way through the white felt and then just picking up a little pinch of the red felt so that the white stitching doesn't show, and go all the way around. I do find that I trim the white backing as I go. What I generally do is cut that backing piece larger than the front piece so that I can make adjustments as I stitch around my shape. Before you get all the way around your shape, you will need to cut out that little place for the switch. To do that, I mark where it's going to go, and then I use the scissors to cut it out. Again, smaller scissors would be nice. And the very last thing I'm going to do is use some red floss to whip stitch around that inside opening where the switch will go. And that is it. I am all done now. Well, all in all, I'm really pleased with how this little guy turned out. One thing I didn't think about was how to hang him. And to be honest, I am just going to take the easy way out and put a little double-sided tape right here and then stick him to my switch plate cover. I hope you guys have had fun. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you decide to make this guy. I would love to see pictures of him. And if you like this sort of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. It would really help me out. I am just getting going. You guys take care. Until next time. Bye-bye.